6 years ago, Meghan Markle was the world's most Googled woman. And now, here she is today. 10 years ago, Elizabeth Holmes, disgraced founder of Theranos, was on top of the world. Here she is today. A few years ago, Amber Heard was one of the faces of the Me Too movement, a Hollywood darling. And here she was only a couple of years ago. Are you noticing a trend here? And it reminded me of this line that I ended a recent podcast with when I said, their preoccupation with their own image is ruining their image. And I wanted to elaborate on that point because I haven't actually come across a lot of literature that talks about the consequences of being a narcissist for the narcissist. Most of the literature available on the topic focuses on the consequences for those who live with the narcissist, or those who stand up to the narcissist, or those who leave the narcissist, which strikes me as a little strange, especially when you consider the fact that the term narcissist originates from the name Narcissus, a figure in Greek mythology who was so impossibly handsome that he fell in love with his own reflection when he saw it reflected back at him from a body of water. He stayed there pining after himself in a severe case of unrequited love until he ended up dying from thirst and starvation. Now, obviously this is a myth, but it's a classic fable, I suppose, because there is a moral to this story, describing in as brief a manner as possible the consequences of being a narcissist. Your preoccupation with yourself will lead to your self-destruction. In all my time on this planet, which somehow feels like it's way too long and not long enough at the same time, does anyone else feel that way? No, I'm just weird. I don't believe I've ever come across such a rapid climb from obscurity to the very top. We're talking one of the most prominent royal families in the history of humankind, or mankind. Mankind. Are we still saying that, or is that not? PC. Only to then tumble from these heights in such a spectacular fashion and in a seemingly never-ending fall. You know, we've been covering Meghan for a few years now, and it's almost like every year you think, all right, they've hit rock bottom. Nope. Oh, well, guess I was wrong. All right, now they've hit rock bottom. Nope. Well, guess I was wrong. They just keep hitting rock bottom. I mean, rock bottom doesn't seem to exist for them. But here's a woman who was once heralded as a breath of fresh air for the stuffy, old-fashioned, traditional British monarchy, which are the media's words, not mine. I personally adore the traditional, old-fashioned, if you will, aspects of royalty. But someone who is the it girl of 2017, 2018, someone who billions clamored to watch as she glided alone on her way to marry her Prince Uncharming. And yes, I know that's not a word, but we'll invent it just for Harry's sake. Someone who was a royal patron, someone who people would curtsy to and refer to as Your Royal Highness. Well, there ain't nothing high or royal about her recent appearance at the LA Children's Hospital Gala. What was that? Gala. I'm gonna go with gala. She looked decidedly as unroyal as ever, on par with that Ellen DeGeneres appearance, in that abominable red dress, with a deranged look in her eyes as she paraded up and down before the paps, working that red carpet and clawing at other attendees to get photographed with. I mean, one could almost feel sorry for her. And I say almost because it's really difficult to feel sorry for someone who is not only an evil force on this planet, but someone who continues to do this to themselves. Her embarrassing appearance at the Ellen show was 3 years ago at this point. Did she learn from that? Clearly not. But I suppose the question is, how? How does someone go from this to this in record time? I believe that narcissists are afflicted with a curse. A very nasty and lifelong affliction. The curse of the narcissist knows best. And it's a curse because they obviously don't. Because if they did, then in Elizabeth Holmes' case, they wouldn't spend the better part of a decade of their lives building this unicorn Silicon Valley company entirely based on fraud. or if you want to talk about Amber Heard, then she wouldn't try to build a career entirely based on a salacious lie. And in Meghan's case, if she truly knew best, then she wouldn't have voluntarily quit one of the most exclusive families in our history, who welcomed her with open arms, who loved her, and attempt to publicly annihilate them for failing to fall down to their knees and declare her as their queen. If Meghan knew what was best, then she wouldn't have snubbed her entire cast, her Suits cast, by not inviting them to the reception. I mean, I don't know who does that. Who invites people to a wedding and then selectively picks others for the reception? It's like, sorry, you're good enough for the free part, but I don't think you're worth, a table and some food. But I digress. Who snubbed her castmates and ignored the Hollywood strikes, if you remember, as well, because she was high and mighty at that point, only to now apparently come crawling back and asking them to throw some bits and crumbs her way from a Suits podcast, because her flop cast failed so miserably, it cost her and her husband a multi-million-dollar deal. Come to think of it, narcissists don't only think they know best, they think they are the best, which clearly they are not. Because if they were the best, then they wouldn't be rotting away in prison for committing crimes against humanity, and they most certainly wouldn't be pitiable, almost pitiable, Z-list has-beens and wannabes desperately clinging on to titles that they have rendered meaningless. And perhaps most importantly, if a narcissist truly did know best or was the best, then they would know to take sound advice from actual experts, professionals whose job it is to guide them and present them to the world in the best light possible. Now, I don't know of the other narcissists we've discussed on this channel, such as Jodi Arias, Amber Heard, Jada Pinkett Smith, Lori and Chad Vallow, actually, they're a good example as well. They literally had like a god complex. They thought they were prophets, essentially, on earth. And look at them now. But all these people most likely didn't have advisors, especially not in the way that a royal duchess, a senior working member of the British royal family, most definitely did. These were people whose sole job was to advise her on how to dress and how to speak, what engagements to go to, how to prepare adequately for public appearances so you don't make a fool out of yourself. All things which she absolutely sucks at doing. I'm sorry, I know that I should try to be more eloquent, but she just sucks. And I'm not just saying that as a matter of opinion. Just look at her recent red carpet appearances. Look at her at The Ellen Show. Time and time again, she dresses herself inappropriately, makes an absolute moron of herself in public, and gives strange, nonsensical, jumbled word salad answers to incredibly simple and even inane questions.
How do you see the healing community at play or at work?
We were able to help plant a bit of a seed of connection for them. But if there's a need for it, you're watching it grow. And the expansion of that, I think, has been very powerful.
What? She has somehow failed to notice that weakness, to acknowledge that criticism, and work on it so that she doesn't make an absolute fool out of herself the next time she's in public. But she didn't. Despite being basically an unemployed rich woman who, at best spends an hour working at her cult of Archwell, she didn't. And you know why that is? Because in her mind, there's nothing to work on. She's perfect. Her presentation is perfect. Her word salad answers are perfect. It's us plebes who are too lowly, too dumb to understand what she's saying when she's giving those, nonsensical gibberish answers. It's on us that we think it's gibberish because it's not to her. It's the perfect Nobel Prize award-winning answer. It's our fault that we can't understand that she is a goddess amongst us who deserves to hog the limelight and stay glued onto that red carpet, black carpet, green carpet, whatever color carpet she's on for far longer than anyone else at that event because she's better than them all. Can't you see? Basically, it must really suck being a narcissist, because how can you ever improve? How can you ever address your weaknesses and fix your problems if your mind is entirely closed to that possibility of you being wrong, basically, of you being imperfect, of working on yourself for your own benefit, mind you, so that you don't look like an idiot out there. The reality is, and this is based on the few public experiences, from celebrities we've talked about on this channel, and even honestly from personal experiences I've witnessed in my private life. There seems to be only one trajectory for these types, and it's down, or I should do down, and infinitely so. This is what I said earlier. Where is your rock bottom? Because you keep breaking the barrier. The only way for these people to turn this ship around and move back up in an upwards trajectory where they want to go is to admit imperfection, to admit they don't know best, to admit they're not the best, to admit that there are people out there who can help them, who know better than them, who are experienced in certain areas, but they're stuck in this vicious cycle. I am perfect, I know best, therefore I'm going to keep doing whatever it is that I think is best to do, which most of the time is the opposite, it's the worst thing, and rinse and repeat. It doesn't matter what everyone else says, they don't know any better, I'm the best, I know best. And thus the vicious cycle of utter foolishness and self-destruction continues. And honestly, I say self-destruction, which was, the main premise of this video, but I wish it was limited to that. Because from what we've seen from these very examples, Elizabeth Holmes, who jeopardized the lives of millions with her fraud, that wasn't restricted to self-destruction. Amber Heard, while she may have self-destructed later, initially destroyed her ex-husband Johnny Depp's life and career. And Meghan Markle, look at the state of their two families. We know that their self-destruction has a blast radius where other innocent lives are caught and affected. But that's kind of beyond the scope of this video. It's something we talk about extensively anyway. This was about the self-destructive cycle of a narcissist. I want to use the word malignant narcissist, but then I'm, kind of pivoting towards medical lingo territory, and I don't want to start hearing those, "You're not a psychologist, what do you know?" accusations. Mind you, as a lawyer, I should then go around and start telling people, you don't know anything about, the law, stop talking about court cases. It just doesn't make sense. Let people talk about what they want to talk about as long as they're not pretending to be professionals, okay? Chill out, it's not that serious. We can talk about it because it helps others. I cannot tell you how many comments we've received on this channel of people telling us, thank you so much for opening my eyes up to the narcissist in my life. And they've removed themselves from that toxic situation. So we're gonna keep doing what we're doing here. It's helping people, and let's try not to gatekeep certain topics, and let's also not pretend to be professionals when we're not, because that's also not good. Very eloquent. Clearly I'm running out of words, so I'm going to stop this video here. Of course, let me know what you think. And the truth is, by the way, I don't know if I said this, the only way these people can get out of this cycle is if they seek help. So if anyone out there is watching this video and knows someone, or perhaps notices these traits in themselves, it's always okay to seek help, okay? All right. Great. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.